Yeah. Uh, Thank you, Session Chairman, and special thanks to CHT for giving me this platform to present my case and methodology, what we have adopted for revamping the CDU video units. Of course, it applies to other units, but since we have applied, and we have been applying for this over the years, so we have tried to put some new dimension into that, and we will try to present that. And before that I start, I think I have a tough work at my hand because I am standing between you and lunch. That I know, so I will try to finish it as quick as possible. Because in a project implementation, the last phase, the construction, people have the most difficult work because they have to catch up with the schedule. So I have to catch up with the schedule because I'm the last speaker here. Anyway, good afternoon to all esteemed guests here. So what is new? So why are we speaking about CDU revamp options? There may be many questions crossing your mind. What is so new about a revamp option? That answer I would try to find through my presentation. At the end, when I present a case study, and with some numbers, you will understand why this case is different and how you can evaluate a revamp not by the traditional way and the myths that we go. I'm trying to present a different way to look at the revamp options. So that is how the crux is. So my presentation will be divided into three different spaces. One is that how the typical revamp options looks like, and we all know about that. Second is that what is the comparison between traditional methodology and the methodology which now EIL uses. Evaluation criteria, basically. What is the evaluation criteria we are talking about? And third is a small case study which will corroborate or which will form of the findings of the methodology. This is how it goes. So I will skip we have some slides on the EIL capabilities that I will skip for the paucity of time. So I will directly go to the typical revamp requirements. So we all know that typical revamp requirements comes from capacity expansion for higher good throughput, product yield structure. This is important because even if we don't have a downstream integration of petrochemical, product yield structure is also important to revamp the unit. Energy efficiency, when we talk about energy efficiency and footprint, these are closely related. And we talk about energy efficiency, we will talk about in my presentation in the later part, is that you have to quantify. Energy efficiency is a very vague term. Nowadays we quantify it with energy numbers. So feedstock flexibility for heavier opportunity crudes, this is the upcoming subject for any refiner. And integration with petrochemicals, that is how to retrofit your refinery with petrochemical unit. Next, what are the challenges of revamp? This all we know. The revamp, two things are looked traditionally. One is cost and another is the time of shutdown. So we have added some more flags. Look at the last flag at the left-hand side is the energy number. So this is the key of this particular presentation. And then ease of constructability. The ease of constructability means it is not, there is a thin line between the constructability and the ease of modification. Constructability would be to avoid all surprises during execution. That is how it is being done. That is we define as constructability in the stage of inception. So this is typical revamp options. We all know, I will not spend time on this. Addition of free flash drum, column internal modifications, installation of pre-fractionator, pump sizing. So this is, now what are the non-conventional revamp options? This is prelude to what is coming up. A parallel crude column, can we do that? A parallel crude heater or parallel preheat train, or all of them together. So this is what are non-conventional revamp options, where you can go for a clean revamp. We are talking about a clean revamp with ease of modifications, least amount of modification, but with a better energy number. So traditional methodology versus novel methodology. The criteria are defined on the left-hand side. Design approach, the energy efficiency, capex, ease of constructability, shutdown duration, and flexibility. So design approach, obviously the traditional methodology or whatever I have written, you know all that modify the existing crude column and add free flash drum or free fractionator. Because the biggest challenge for any revamp, whether it is a yield structure changes because of the crude basket changes, or you are doing a capacity expansion, the heat is on the crude column. Because there is high traffic going through the crude column, how will you manage the traffic in the crude column? That is the biggest challenge. So that is how it is done. Now EIS methodology is that you have multiple configurations you have to evaluate. It is not that simple that the way we used to do. Do the simulation, do the modification and just put it on the PNID and execute it. It is like that you have to multiple configurations, you have to look at it from different angles and then finalize what is the best configuration. Then energy efficiency, which I have said, there is optimized through energy number analysis. This is the key. And capex, of course, once you get many configurations, you will get many different capexes. That I will come. So, ease of constructability, shutdown. Shutdown is known to everybody. Of course, in a shutdown, when we are talking about a parallel train and modular structure, you have lower shutdown time because we are not touching the existing unit. So EIL's evaluation criteria, once again, the energy intensity, shutdown duration. It is just follow-up of the earlier slide, capital investment, constructability, and plot fit. So we are talking about a clean revamp, only it is possible if you have a plot fit. Reuse of existing equipment. So case study. So this case study is basically to check whether we can do a revamp without doing minimum, without touching the existing unit with minimum modifications, and mind it, we are talking about a capacity increase for a more than 50%. So what is new in this? The new is that even if there are stages of modifications or stages of revamps we can do, like 30%, 40%, 15%. So 15 to 20% typically by a thumb rule we can manage with a pre-flash drum if it is not originally there. With 30-40% we can do with a pre-fractionator. More than 50%, yes, EIL have done it in earlier stages with 60% revamps with a single pre-fractionator. But no more that approach is taken now. So that is how it is. So we are talking about whenever you are going for 50% or more capacity increase, you should look at a different way how this revamp should be done, looking at all the angles, looking at all the options. So this was the objective of the case study. Energy number, minimize capex, asset reuse, that is a basic requirement of any revamp. Implementation, ease and space feed. So this was for the case study, it was very difficult for us more because this is a generic case study. This is not a very typical to any refining or in any particular unit. It is basically generic taken from all the revamp options what we have studied. So if you have a single design case, your life is simple. If you have two design cases and with so much variation of API, like it is one is less than 30 and another is more than 40. So you are in a dilemma. So you are sure before you start the process, you know that your crude column is going to hit. Your internals will change, your nozzles will change. How will you handle it? So we had 4 or 5, in fact, we do many models, maybe 10 models, 19 models, and here I am just summarizing with 5 configurations. So we will deal about 3 configurations, which are extreme cases. First configuration, which is the traditional, with a configuration of upstream pre-fractionator, with utilizing the existing preheat in the circuit and with the possible lift of naphtha. The second configuration is this is the one with the pre-fractionator. Then I will come to this later. Then the second configuration where we will use a heater upstream of the pre-fractionator and check. This is the objective of this doing is this. When we do this, we are trying to relieve the crude column as much as possible. And that can be done only with a crude in one more heater upstream of pre-fractionator, because that will give the lift which is required to relieve the traffic in the crude column. So this is also a good option. These also can be tried. Now coming back to the option which you can select is this option. Is that although it is against the mindset, many people who are sitting here might be knowing crude unit and the revamp options. So this is against the myth, this is against the mindset. So if you do a parallel crude column and along with a crude heater, probably it will give a better energy number. And of course, it might offset with the capex slightly, but you will still win the game because if your energy number is lower, that energy number will give you a payback in no time, even if you have a slightly higher capex. The only challenge is that you should have a space fleet. Coming down to that, so what was the technical highlights? Configuration 3, what was the selected configuration was that it was a parallel preheat train and parallel heater. Existing vacuum column retained, so new stabilizer in parallel. We didn't struggle with the stabilizer also. And then minor nozzle modification is the crude column. So we kept the crude column clean as much as possible. So what are the advantages? A very lower energy number, short shutdown time, and because the work was going on parallel, and parallel setup and minimal times. So I will come to this slide. This is the entire the study or under the options, evaluation of the options or criteria for evaluating the options hinges in this particular slide. Now here you see X and Y are the numbers are the basic configuration what we have chosen. That is a basically traditional configuration. X is configuration with a capex value. This is related to the prefractionator with only naphtha. But what we do, typically we take out the naphtha and then rest of the thing we put it in the crude column back. So this is the basic configuration, configuration 1, which is X and Y with the energy number and a capex value. Now when we go to the configuration 2 or so configuration 5, where we have taken out the naphtha, light naphtha, heavy naphtha, total Kero, entire the Kero band from the prefractionator, we need a heater, I told you earlier also. Then the capex is also high, it is 17% high and 5% high is the energy number. So we had to forego this. Then what was the option left? The option left was to put a crude column and a crude heater. Surprisingly, we also found that although the capex value was slightly higher, 11% higher, the energy number was 90% of the earlier configurations. The configuration which prefractionator and with naphtha. I told you we have done this with 66%, 65% revamps with only prefractionator because there was no different thought at that time. So when we introduce this parameter of energy number, so we come to this table. So although the capex value was 11% higher for configuration 3, we selected this because we calculated the capex value and we checked with the energy number, the recovery paid off, recovery had facilitated the payoff of the enhanced capex in no time, maybe less than 1 year or something, I don't remember, but it is less than 1 year or maximum 2 years. So that's how we overcome all the challenges of a huge revamp of 55 to 60% revamp without touching the existing. The only thing, the problem here you can face is that the turn down. So if you can manage with the turn down with interconnection flexibility between the two trains in such a way and design the unit with adapting suitable controls, we had to design control because there will be challenges in the pre-flash jam overhead vapor controls. It is not so easy because you have to space it to the two crude column flash zones. Then you will have a challenge with the preheat train. The most important thing or the flexibility is that you don't have to touch the existing preheat train. And why this energy number increase? Because in revamp you cannot increase the energy number. So everybody must be thinking, how can it possible? Yes, it is possible because you have a new preheat train and you can maximize the preheat number. We have achieved the numbers like say 319, 318. We have the lowest CDU video running in India with lowest energy number at Vizag. So we employed that same idea. We had a parallel heat train, and with that balanced the overall loss in the energy number in the entire unit. So this is how we have done, and this is how we have achieved lower energy number and selected the configuration. So whenever the moral of the story is, whenever going for revamp options, for the 50%, evaluate with all this, rank it with respect to energy, with respect to capex. Of course, the third dimension has not been taken because it is not easy to quantify constructability. I think that I think we are running out of time, so I'm coming to this novelty. This is a novelty which I have already explained. Multi-criteria matrix, energy plus cost plus constructibility, and by list of the thing you know. And this should be the benchmark for Indian refineries in the future to come. And so finally conclude, EIL's methodology delivers a structured and practical approach to revamp selection, not the traditional way. Parallel crude column, lowest energy footprint, minimum disruption, fast rate of returns, and a benchmark case for energy optimized CDU video revamp. Thanks for listening to me.